Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay guys, it's Wednesday, July 1st, and it is 9:49 p.m. I know I'm getting a late start again, but really today, from the moment I've woke up this morning, all through today, I have been working, believe it or not, on this kind of stuff. So what we're going to do tonight, I've been working actually on a different set of videos. It'll probably take 2 videos for me to explain some stuff, and I've been working on that, and then I realized I'm not going to have that done in time tonight, so I better get some news. And so I got that prepared, and then all of a sudden I realized that Q had posted, so I had to go and make sure that I got that done, because I know that you want to hear about Q in a timely manner, and I understand that. So that's what we're going to do tonight. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get to Q, and we're going to get completely caught up to date with that. Depending on how late that goes, I may or may not do another video, but I will have to do, if I don't do 2 videos tonight, I will have to do 2 videos tomorrow, because there is a lot of news. And Heather H. in Houston sent me a couple more interesting things that I want to get to as well. Thank you, Heather. So let's do Q first. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thank the people that I need to thank, just in case it goes late and I'm not able to do a second video, because I appreciate the people that support this program in one way or another. And some people support us in ways that are not financial, but are just as valuable, such as prayer and, really, making the comments. There's a group of people that just, I wait for them every night. I kind of wait for them because I know it's going to be the same group. They wait every night and then they comment, and they all know, well, they don't maybe know each other, but they do know each other from the comments. And I always wait for that group of people because they're there every night. So I don't know why I mentioned that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's been one of those, you ever have a day when your brain is just tired? I've been doing so much research into some other areas that, yeah, my brain is kind of tired tonight, but that's all right. We'll get through it. We always do. And let me go ahead and thank these people just in case I don't come back and do a second video. So the following people donated via coffee: Sharon Ascari, and yes, I know who you are. I know that is not the name that you usually go by, but I know who you are. So I got your little note telling me, and thank you. And also Stephanie, thank you guys for donating via coffee. Appreciate that very much. And I don't know what happened today, but we picked up a bunch of people on Patreon. Well, maybe not a bunch, but 4. That's good. Gail E. Not sure if I can pronounce your last name, Gail, but I'm going to try it. Miniati? No, I can't. I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm afraid that I'm going to screw it up, and that's just so disrespectful. And Janice Haffen, and Judy V, and Mary Fern Barnes. Well, thank you guys. 4 people are pledged a monthly support and on Patreon, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you guys. And let's go now to Q. All right, I know you're saying, well, I thought you'd never shut up and get to it. Well, you got to put up with the little chit chat at the first. I can't help it. I try not to, but it doesn't work well. Okay, all right, we are on drop 4544. 4544. These are the times that try men's souls. And of course, men in the context there means mankind. He's not just saying men's souls. And, it's unfortunate that you even have to clarify that these days. But anyway, it says, these are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of a man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this conclusion with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. And that is a quote by Thomas Paine, and a very, very good one. I like that. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. That is so true. And we've got this from Lisa May Crowley. She said, the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. And she said, at Ingram Angle read this earlier and asks where patriots are today. Well, they're here. There's lots of patriots. It's just that they're not heard of on the mainstream media at all. So it sounds, if you were to listen to the mainstream media, you would think that there were no more patriots in America, and nothing could be further from the truth. So let's go on now. And that is from the 30th of June, and I must have missed that. He probably posted that after I had posted. No, actually, that's from yesterday. So no, I didn't do Q yesterday. So, all right, sorry, I'm just a little bit scattered tonight for some reason. I know you're probably saying, oh come on, you're scattered every night. Probably. All right, now we are on drop 45454545. Powerful drop, united against the invisible enemy of all humanity. United against the invisible enemy of all humanity. Humanity is good, but when we let our guard down, we allow darkness to infiltrate and destroy. Like past battles fought, we now face our greatest battle at present, a battle to save our republic, our way of life, and what we decide, each of us now will decide our future. Will we be a free nation under God, or will we cede our freedom, rights, and liberty to the enemy? We all have a choice to make. Evil, darkness, has never been so exposed to light. They can no longer hide in the shadows. Our system of government has been infiltrated by corrupt and sinister elements. Democracy was almost lost forever. Think Hillary Rodham Clinton. Install 2+ Supreme Court justices. Yes, and if Hillary Rodham Clinton had won the election, then she would have had the ability to install 2+ Supreme Court justices, and that can affect the country for many, many, many years to come. So she would have had the ability to do that. 200+ judges. Rogue elements expanded inside DOJ, FBI, CIA, and what he's saying is the rogue elements that were already in the FBI, or the DOJ, FBI, CIA, NSA, White House, and state would have been expanded. She would have expanded the rogue elements, and we know that. Removal, she would have removed the Second Amendment, border, etc. America for sale. If she was in power, America would have been for sale, because it's been for sale for the last, I don't know how many years. So America for sale, China, Russia, Iran, Syria, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, expansion of surveillance of domestic citizens. These are all things that would have taken place under Hillary, and we know that. I mean, I don't think any of us can look at these things and say, oh, no, that wouldn't have happened. She would have had the ability to install 2 or more Supreme Court justices. And who do you think that she would install? Somebody crooked, somebody very liberal. Same thing with 200+ judges. Who would she install? Somebody corrupt, somebody liberal. And we know that there were rogue elements in the DOJ, FBI, CIA, etc. She would have expanded that, absolutely. She would have taken away our gun rights. She would have opened the border up. These are all things that would have happened under Hillary, and America would have been for sale, because it had been under her and Obama. When she was in the State Department under Obama, it was for sale. Pay to play. China, Russia, Iran, Syria, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda expansion of surveillance of domestic citizens. Yes, we can. But you know something? It's been expanded under Trump as well. I'm just being fair here and being honest. And I'm going to tell you what I see. And I would imagine that that's why you come here, because you want my opinion, or you want my take on it. And you know, it takes all of us together, and that's why I think the comments are so valuable, because we can banter back and forth. I don't want people that just agree with me. A lot of times people will vehemently disagree with me, and they're right, because, hey, I've been wrong plenty of times, and I'm the first one to admit that. So anyway, expansion of surveillance, I don't know. Yes, it would be worse under Hillary, but it's bad now. It's bad now. And all the censorship and everything as well. Anyway, modify, change voter rules and regulations, allow illegals plus ballot harvesting with Supreme Court-backed liberal social opinion, sell off of military to highest bidder to fight internal long-standing wars. All of these things would have happened, and I have no doubt about it. No doubt about it, she would be allowing the illegals to vote because she'd want to stay in power. Her and those of her ilk would want to stay in power. So that's exactly what she would do. Oh, let the illegals vote. We'll give them some free stuff, and in exchange, you know, they'll give us a vote. And that's how it's been working. So, yeah. Their thirst for a one world government, their thirst for a one world order, destruction of national sovereignty, serves to obtain control over America and her allies, think EU, by diluting your vote to oblivion and installing a new one world ruling party. The start of this concept began with organizations such as World Health Org, World Trade Org, United Nations, ICC, NATO, etc., all meant to weaken the United States, and I could not agree more stringently with that than I already do, because I happen to agree with that very strongly. Also, the formation of EU through threat, con of close proximity attack, also the formation of EU through threat, con of close proximity attack. I'm not sure what that means, con there. Attack on one is an attack on all. Sales pitch to general public, fear, control. And let's come down here. This is a very long post. European Union, did each member nation cede sovereignty to Brussels? Did each European Union member, European Union, each member must implement EU rules and regulations in all areas. Think immigration, currency, overall control. So yes, in many ways, for all intents and purposes, they did cede their sovereignty to Brussels. Absolutely they did. Because, you know, then all the rules were made by one body to apply to everyone. And it didn't matter what country, it applied to all of them. Their thirst to remove your ability to defend yourself serves to prevent an uprising to challenge their control. Of course. That's why America has always been pro-gun and will continue to be. It is right there in our rights as citizens, and, you know, right in the Constitution. And we are getting a firsthand view of why we need those weapons. Their thirst to remove your ability to defend yourself serves to prevent an uprising to challenge their control. There is a fundamental reason why our enemies dare not attack, invade our borders. Armed citizenry. Yeah, you don't have to, you know, any army that would invade America doesn't just have to worry about the army. Whereas in many countries, you know, if you were to invade them, you would just have to worry about the military, because the citizenry are not armed. Not in America, especially the South. Everybody has a firearm. Well, maybe not everyone, but just about. The percentage is very, very high. So, me see here. If America falls, so does the world. If America falls, darkness will soon follow. Only when we stand together, only when we are united, can we defeat this highly entrenched dark enemy. Their power and control relies heavily on an uneducated population. Isn't that the truth? And a population that remains outside of free thought and instead remains isolated, living in fear inside of a closed loop echo chamber of the controlled mainstream media. This is not about politics. This is about preserving our way of life and protecting the generations that follow. We are living in biblical times. Children of light versus children of darkness. United Nations against the invisible enemy of all humanity. Q. And at some point in the very near future, I will have some thoughts on this that may differ from yours and Q's, and I may lose some. I may lose some subscribers, followers, listeners, what have you. But at the end of the day, I have to lay my head on the pillow, and if I believe that I have misled anyone, it's very hard. That would be very hard for me to do, is to just roll over and go to sleep, because I feel that I don't want to be leading anybody wrong. So if I see something, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to be doing that shortly. I just want to get it together because I think it's important the way I present it, so that people hear what I'm saying and don't hear what I'm not saying. You know what I'm saying? I used to have a pastor, and he'd always say, listen to the message I'm preaching, not the one don't listen to the message I'm not preaching, because people would hear what they want to hear. And I want to present it in such a way that you can see logically where I came to this conclusion and where I got my information and what I think. So that's what I'm doing, and at that point it will be up to you. Now I'm just saying right now, I'm not against Trump in any respect. I think that he is the only logical choice to vote for, obviously. I mean, we don't have any other choice. And so yeah, but I have a little bit different take on things, and we'll get to that. It's just, I want to make sure that it's prepared properly before I bring it, because I think there would be a lot of possibility to misunderstand what I'm saying. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's go on here. And Lisa Mae Crowley says, Q, we are living in biblical times, children of light versus children of darkness, united against the invisible enemy of all humanity. General Flynn, there are two opposing sources. One is the children of light, and the other is the children of darkness. Yeah, we're going to be visiting that. All right, and Sun Q2 says, we are facing our greatest battle at present. Hard to fathom that democracy was almost lost forever. Well said, Q. This is hard to grasp. If Hillary would have won, our way of life would be over. If they win this election, our way of life is forever over. Well, I don't believe that they will win the coming election. I don't believe that. And it's not just hopeful thinking. I think that, well, I'm not going to go into what I think. All right. Now, let's move down here. We are on drop 4546, 4546. I'm hoping that you're not getting any interference. I do have a fan on because my air conditioner is very, very loud and it's hot. We are in the midst of a heat wave. It's been extremely hot up here this summer, unusually hot. In fact, it's going to be over 100 for the rest of the week, which is just about unheard of here. So it's very hot, and I don't think I could do this without a fan. I would be like one big puddle of goo. Anyway, so now we are on 4546. They sent positive COVID-19 patients from Mexico into California to reignite the virus. Wave 2. All right, again, this is from yesterday, the 30th of June, and we've got a link here, which we're going to go out to. And let's just go out to there, and we will come back and read the rest. We've got 3 links to get to in this particular drop. All righty. All right. Coronavirus jumps the border. overwhelming hospitals in California. Hospitals are airlifting patients to facilities hundreds of miles away to handle an influx of Americans and U.S. green card holders sickened in Mexico. Now, I do not have a subscription to the New York Times, so I don't think it's going to let me read all this, or maybe it will. El Centro, California, for 32 years, Judy Cruz has cared for parents who showed up in the emergency room in the arid agrarian valley that straddles Mexico along the California border. There have been bad flu seasons that cause hospitalizations to spike, weekends when off-road vehicle collisions in the desert resulted in traumatic injuries, and scorching summer days when overheated farm workers required intensive resuscitation. Among the patients was always a smattering of Americans who lived across the border. We are a teeny tiny hospital, but we have always been able to manage calling in staff on their days off or transferring one or two patients out a day to bigger facilities, said Ms. Cruz, director of the emergency department of the El Centro Regional Medical Center. We get a surge for 24 or 48 hours that required we'd get a surge for 24 or 48 hours that required all hands on deck. Then came coronavirus. The hospital, which has a 20-bed intensive care unit, has been overwhelmed with ailing residents of the Imperial Valley, as well as Americans and U.S. green card holders fleeing overcrowded clinics and hospitals in Mexicali, a city of 1.1 million on the other side of the border. To alleviate the pressure, hospitals in nearby San Diego and Riverside counties began accepting transfers in April, but the intensifying crisis prompted California last week to activate an extraordinary response, enlisting hospitals as far north as Santa Barbara, San Francisco, and Sacramento to accept patients from this remote southeastern corner of the state. Last week, a patient was being transferred from the hospital in El Centro every 2 to 3 hours, compared to 17 in an entire month before the COVID-19 pandemic, Ms. Cruz said on a recent morning as a helicopter prepared to airlift a patient and 5 ambulances dropped off patients near a trio of tents erected outside the hospital to triage new arrivals. The swelling number of COVID-19 patients entering the United States from Mexico comes as many parts of California have pushed down their infection rates, enabling many counties to lift stay-at-home restrictions and reopen businesses. We worked hard to flatten the curve in California, said Carmela Coyle, president of the California Hospital Association, who issued an appeal to hospital systems across the state for help. Now we have a surge in the Imperial Valley because the situation is so severe in Mexicali. Other parts of the border, including San Diego County, have also been scrambling with a wave of patients from Baja California, the state adjacent to California. Border towns in Arizona are experiencing an increase in infections that health officials believe is tied to people coming in from Sonora State. Our ER is used to receiving patients from Mexico for things like complications from bariatric surgery and plastic surgery and alternative cancer care, but this pandemic has brought a whole different dynamic, said Juan Tovar, physician operations executive at Scripps Mercy Hospital in Chula Vista, across the border from Tijuana, which has been hard hit by the pandemic. We're seeing COVID patients arrive in our ER who are very ill, whose disease has progressed to an advanced stage because care wasn't readily available in Baja California, he said. The border influx is likely the reason that Chula Vista has more cases per capita than San Diego, a city 5 times larger. Chris Van Gorder, the president of Scripps Health, a nonprofit health system in San Diego, reported that nearly half of virus patients who checked into Chula Vista Hospital between May 24th and May 30th have recently been in Mexico. That share rose to 60% between May 31st and June 2nd. Mr. Van Gorder and other hospital administrators have called on federal authorities to take temperatures at border entry points and to advise quarantine for those with virus symptoms. It's pretty obvious that while the overall country is managing things well, sick people are crossing the border every day, he said. A spokesman for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection said the agency was following guidelines from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and referring travelers who require screening to local health authorities. The number of cases in Imperial County reached 2,540 on Friday, up from 1,076 2 weeks ago. The county has the highest infection rate in California, with 1 in every 71 residents having contracted the virus. Per capita, the El Centro area has reported the second most cases of any American metropolitan area over the past 2 weeks. In nearby Yuma County, Arizona, which also touches the border, cases have more than doubled since Memorial Day, rising to 1,510 by Friday. The country has fewer cases per capita than some eastern Arizona counties, where there are severe outbreaks on Native American reservations, but higher rates than the counties that include Phoenix and Tucson. The health crisis along the border has underscored the deep interconnection between the United States and its neighbor to the south. Billions of dollars worth of goods and millions of people move in both directions each year. Asylum seekers and other migrants have been barred from entering the United States since March, when President Trump closed the border to all but essential travel. But many among the 275,000 Americans and green card holders who live in Baja California, including retirees and working adults, continue to travel back and forth. I am afraid there are no borders when it comes to a pandemic like this, said Adolph Edward, Chief Executive Officer of the El Centro Hospital. We are together as one community, whether Americans, dual citizens, or Mexicans. Now, this is a long article, my gosh, but I'm not going to read every single thing here. I think, suffice it to say that, it's coming across the border and causing a second wave. And it says Diego Favila, chief of the Calexico Fire Department, said his crew members have been working overtime to keep up. This COVID crisis is taking a toll emotionally and physically, and it's not letting up. Well, let's go back here and come back up here and read to the next link. Camouflaged by protests, riots. COVID-19, 2 positive patients in Mexico were quietly routed to California. The swelling numbers of COVID-19 patients entering the United States from Mexico comes as many parts of California have pushed down their infection rates, enables many counties to lift stay-at-home restrictions and reopen businesses. So, yeah, the California counties had pushed their numbers down, everything was allowed to reopen, and now we have a second wave coming in from Mexico. Interesting. And then Q says next, and we have another link. So let's go take a look at that. All right. California coronavirus update. Governor Gavin Newsom indicates LA County could close back down soon. We will be stepping up our enforcement. Well. I guess that's the second wave they keep telling us about. Milk and coffee. Cold. It's a wonderful drink. Transmission is increasing in the state, said California Governor Gavin Newsom. Said plainly at his Monday coronavirus press briefing. Accordingly, Newsom said he would likely be using the dimmer switch to toggle back reopening measures in more hard-hit counties. He said there were 7 counties, including Los Angeles, that would likely need to reinstitute community measures. Right now, that involves the closing of bars and nightclubs. Newsom indicated that he would leave it to the county officials to determine the appropriate measures, but if counties are not effective in remediation, I am committing to intervening, said the governor. We are considering a number of other things to advance, and we will make those announcements as appropriate, said Newsom. Those may include augmenting the orders and advancing even more restrictive ones. Well, they'd like that, wouldn't they? And this is from his Twitter page, Gavin Newsom. California's response to COVID-19 is based on science. Sure it is. That's why we asked counties that are experiencing high transmission and positivity rates to close down bars and toggle back reopenings. We will continue to monitor counties across the state and take appropriate action when necessary. Yes, I'm sure you will take action. Whether or not it's appropriate is another question. Remediation also includes enforcement, said the governor. Thus, we will be stepping up our enforcement. I have no doubt about that. Newsom said he indicated that the state had earmarked $2.5 billion in COVID funds, and those would be predicated upon the proven success of counties' enforcement measures. If people are flaunting those rules and regulations, said Newsom, then we've got to do more. The governor also said that while he is concerned about small business success, OSHA will be stepping up measures to increase enforcement of anti-COVID measures in the state. Newsom revealed that he is working with institutions and victims advocates to identify 3,500 inmates to be released early if they can prove they have a place to go. Absolute stupidity, these people. Yes, let's release the let's release more inmates so that we can have a second round of protests, of peaceful protests. Yes. I guess I don't know why they think, shooting into cars is peaceful, but hey, I guess they have a different definition. These would be what the governor referred to as non-violent, non-sex offenders. Well, that's good. After rolling back coronavirus reopening measures twice in 3 days, California Governor Gavin Newsom said the positivity rate in the state has, in 7 days, risen from 4.4 to 5.5%, even as the state upped its testing to over 100,000 a day. Newsom revealed that in the past 7 days, positivity looks even worse at 5.9%. Well, must be the Mexicans coming over, because it couldn't be the fact, it couldn't have been the protesters that were spreading it. No, it had to be the Mexicans bringing it over. Absolutely. Sure. Let's blame them. Okay. Newsom ordered 7 California counties to close bars and night spots on Sunday. Those counties include Los Angeles, Fresno, Kern, San Joaquin. Is that how you pronounce that? I'm not sure. Tulare, Kings, Ventura, and Imperial. He said the counties have been on a watch list from between 3 and 13 days due to increasing COVID numbers. At 14 days, the governor said the state will enforce remediation measures. On Monday, Newsom added Solano, Merced, Orange, and Glenn counties to that watch list. The counties of concern to state officials now account for 72% of the state's population, he said. Well, of course it does. We start with bars, said Newsom. In the last 7 days, we've seen a 45% increase in cases in the state of California. Again, none of them were tied to protests. The governor said that in addition to those venues, small gatherings of friends and families were likely contributing factors. Right, it's the small gatherings of friends and family, but not the mass protests of thousands and thousands of people squashed together like one big ball of sweaty humanity. Not that. That's not what's spreading it. It's the Mexicans and those family gatherings. We got to stop that. As of Monday, 14% of the ICU beds in the state are allocated to COVID-19 patients. Los Angeles County issued an order closing bars shortly after Newsom's announcement on Sunday. Bars that offer sit-down dining are exempt. Now, why are bars that offer sit-down dining exempt? Does the COVID virus have like a GPS and, no, that bar has, that bar, no, that doesn't have food. We can't go there. We've got to infect. This one serves food. We can't infect that. We got to leave that alone. Let's go over here because that's just a bar and they don't have any food. So let's go in there and infect everybody. I mean, come on. They think we are complete idiots. There has been a sharp increase in new cases and hospitalizations. The timing of these increases is in line with the reopening of key sectors. But again, I just want to reiterate, it has nothing to do with the protests. Those thousands of people you saw all squashed together sweating, they were all completely clean. And because they were protesting, the virus was not able to spread. Because remember, they kept telling us, stay at home unless you're protesting. So That must have meant that everybody that was out there protesting was safe, because surely they would have told us if they weren't, right? Surely they would have said, wait, all those people squashed together like that, that's not good. But no. And in fact, this resurgence has nothing to do with the protests. I just want to reiterate that so everyone understands. It couldn't have been that. All bars, breweries, brew pubs, wineries, tasting rooms in Los Angeles County must close unless they offer sit-down dine-in services, because apparently the virus doesn't like that. Doesn't like that. If you're sitting down and dining, I don't know, just passes right over you or right through you, I guess. I don't know what it does, but it doesn't like it if you're sitting down eating. So everybody go to a restaurant, sit down, start eating, and you'll be safe. Just put your mask on before you sit down, and just take it off enough to eat and then put it right back on. All right. Okay. Well, I think I've had enough of this because it's ridiculous. It's absolutely, positively asinine. So let's go back and listen to Q. Okay. Now, so that was the first one, and that was the second one, and says, how do you maintain control of the narrative? Mail-in voting necessary, and attempt to keep control of population. Next challenge, rise in cases due to testing Inc. And Mexico to California, but overall decrease in death rates, nursing home scandal in public domain, no longer viable option. Yeah, they can't do that anymore. They can't kill off the people in nursing homes anymore because people are aware of it and livid. And well, they should. So next it's going to be, well, even though the death rates are going down, they're going to say, oh, well, it's Mexicans crossing into California. Oh, it's the bars. It's the bars. It's spreading in all the bars, not the protesting. That's not responsible for anything. But all of this, all of it is so that they can maintain that narrative that, oh, we've got to have mail-in voting because it's dangerous. If you go out to that poll, even though throughout all this shutdown, we've been going to grocery stores, haven't we? Lots of people in the grocery store. Okay, you're 6 feet apart. Why can't you maintain that same distance at the polling booth? I don't understand. What's the problem? If you can go get groceries, you can go vote. If you can go to a clothing store, which are open now, you can go vote. If you can go to the liquor store, you can go vote. All right, now let's listen to Lisa Mae Crowley. Mainstream media silent regarding Mexican transfers to California hospitals, increasing number of cases, need to keep fear alive to push mail-in voting. USPS just endorsed Biden, rising plus cases, but less deaths, can't kill nursing home patients. New virus coming? Well, of course, if this one isn't working sufficiently enough, they'll bring a new one. And I think they've already got that planned. And this by SunQ2. While the riots were taking place and the country was distracted, 2 COVID-infected patients in Mexico were routed to California. The deep state had to figure out a way to continue spreading COVID so they could continue to attempt to justify mail-in ballots. Their plan to infect the elderly at nursing homes was exposed. The next challenge they face is explaining how the second wave of COVID began to spread. Well, again, who knows if they seeded some COVID positive people in those protests? Wouldn't that be a great way to spread it? I mean, really. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did, because those are the type of people that we're dealing with, unfortunately. Now, let's go on to the next, and we are now on drop 4547. 4547. The Lone Warrior. And it links to a YouTube, which I cannot play because it is a song, and I will get a copyright strike because I have no way of knowing if it's copyrighted or not. And if it is, then I will receive a strike. And not only do I not want a strike, but I don't deserve a strike. So you will have to look that up on your own. You can go to YouTube and just put in the Lone Warrior and you should find it. And interestingly enough, here is Donald Trump, June 30th, same date, and he tweeted the Lone Warrior. Interesting, isn't it? And I think that he's probably referring to himself there, but who knows? Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. All right, and on to 4548. Mayor Bill de Blasio released 650 plus inmates who were free to commit crimes without consequence. That's right. All right, so let's go to the first link here and take a look at this. And we have this. Let's look at this. Now, this is sad. Hang on here. I'm going to make this bigger for you tiny phone people. And we'll take this back here. And all right, let's watch this. And this is what's happening in New York without enough police. Goes up to this woman, gets her down, takes her bag, and she's just left there. Now, I think she's all right, but he just walks off with her bag. And notice, he's got a mask on, and you know, everybody is wearing a mask now. It's hard to tell who the criminals are and who they're not, because everybody has a mask on. And I don't think that that is any coincidence. I really don't. 64-year-old woman choked and robbed in Manhattan. Call New York Police Department if you can ID the suspect. All right, and let's go back. And it says, does a combination of prisoner release plus mask mandates provide for a more dangerous environment to citizens? Of course it does. Of course it does. And it makes it harder to identify people. I think it's interesting that it coincides with all the peaceful protests. And next we are going to the New York Post and look at the next link. City district attorneys rip de Blasio over planned release of high-risk inmates. Now this was March 30th, 2020, right before the uprising, right? Excuse me. The city's 5 district attorneys and the Big Apple's special narcotics prosecutor sent a letter to Bill de Blasio and his correction commissioner Monday, slamming them for the planned release of violent inmates amid the coronavirus pandemic. The DAs from Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Staten Island, and Special Narcotics Prosecutor Bridget Brennan said they've been reviewing requests for the release of inmates from Rikers Island with the goal of reducing health risks in a manner consistent with public safety. Yeah, they're concerned with public safety more for the inmates than for anyone else. They're not concerned about you or I's safety. All right, and our review of the list provided to date has led us to consent to the release of many hundreds of individuals due to their age and or health condition, the nature of their charged crime, or the length of their remaining sentence, reads the letter to Hissener and DOC Commissioner Cynthia Braun. At the same time, we want to make clear that the categories of those proposed for release have, in some instances, included individuals who pose a high risk to public safety, the letter says. The joint missive goes on to add that in those instances, the DAs have communicated our concerns, but these concerns have not always been heeded. No, they wanted those prisoners out there to cause more havoc during this period of time, because didn't it coincide nicely? They released those prisoners, and then we had all of this with George Floyd. As an example, what we learned last week, that Braun was about to use her authority to order an across-the-board release of hundreds of inmates serving city sentences, we were assured that the release would not include those serving time for domestic violence or sex offenses, given the risk to victims, the letter states. Unfortunately, we later learned that such individuals were indeed included in the ranks of those to be released. DAs Darcel Clark, Eric Gonzalez, Melinda Katz, Cyrus Vance Jr., and Michael McMahon also said they were concerned that the process for releasing inmates gives little consideration to the housing, supervision, and support services needs to individuals who are being returned to their communities, needs that, if not addressed, will only compound the possible health, safety, and other risks, both to the communities and to the individuals at issue. And of course, you can't just release a prisoner. They may not have anywhere to go. They don't have money. I think they give them enough for a bus pass. I think that's what they do. At least they do in the southern states. They give them enough for a bus pass to wherever they want to go. But they're let out. They have no money. They don't have anywhere to go. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to reoffend. At this point, the seemingly haphazard process by which at-risk inmates are identified and the reports that those released may include violent offenders are creating a public perception that our city jails may be incapable of providing sufficient health care for the remaining population of inmates, the letter reads, noting, we believe this perception is wrong. The letter adds, even at this difficult time, our society must have the ability to safeguard those who are incarcerated to avoid violating their rights or endangering the community. In short, we should not have to make release decisions that we know will put communities at risk. Of course not. De Blasio said Sunday that more than 650 inmates had been released over coronavirus concerns. Sure, it's over coronavirus concerns. Why weren't they more concerned about the nursing homes? They're so concerned that the inmates might get it. Why weren't they so concerned about the nursing homes? Those were law-abiding citizens who had paid their due. In their letter, the DAs and Brennan called on the de Blasio administration to immediately reassure the public and courts that the city's jail system is capable of appropriately managing the health needs of the remaining inmates in a manner consistent with recent guidance from the Centers for Disease Control for managing COVID-19 in correctional and detention facilities. They also called on de Blasio administration to make it clear that the city is capable of creating a secure model of inmate care that other municipalities will follow, and that the review of inmates up for release will continue to include an evaluation of public safety. You really think they care about that? Meanwhile, law enforcement sources griped that de Blasio was putting the public in harm's way by the release of some inmates. That's exactly what he was doing. The mayor is really jeopardizing the public by releasing some of these people, one source said, calling the more high-risk inmates the worst of the worst. Another source said, during these trying times, the people need to be assured, not scared, that this is all the mayor is doing. And this is all the mayor is doing. Yeah, he's scaring people. He let 650 people out of prison that shouldn't have been out, and some of them violent offenders. The mayor's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Well, I bet they didn't. Now, let's go back and let's see what Q has to say. So, okay. As an example, when we learned last week that Braun was about to use her authority to order an across-the-board release of hundreds of inmates serving city sentences, we were assured that the release would not include those serving time for domestic violence or sex offenses, given the risk to victims, the letter states. Unfortunately, we later learned that such individuals were indeed included in the ranks of those to be released. De Blasio said Sunday that more than 650 inmates had been released over coronavirus concerns. Now, I think we have one more link here. Hang on. We're going to get to it. Here it is. New York Police Department brass, we're arresting too many prisoners on early COVID release. So what are these people doing? They're getting out early because of COVID concerns, and they're reoffending. That's what they're saying. We're arresting too many prisoners. We're rearresting these people that just got out. Hundreds of prisoners released early from Rikers due to COVID concerns are being enabled to reoffend again and again without consequences, law enforcement leaders say. We're continuing to see people get arrested over and over and let right back out, and it really defies common sense, New York Police Department Commissioner Dermot Shea said in an interview with NBC New York. Of approximately 2,500 defendants sprung from Rikers early because of COVID safety planning, at least 250 have been arrested again since, according to Michael LePetri, Chief of Crime Control Strategies of the New York Police Department. Chief LePetri tells NBC New York, the NYPD did not object to releasing older defendants nor those with underlying medical conditions, but he says the consequences of the larger scale release of prisoners are now showing up in the arrest data, with those 250 reoffenders being arrested 450 times so far during the pandemic. 250 of those reoffenders have been arrested 450 times. Josh Ramani, co-owner of the drugstore Prime Essentials, said he felt sad when he first saw surveillance tape of a man stealing socks and putting them on inside his store on Lower Broadway on June 6. I felt really bad that he got arrested for taking socks, food, and medicine, Ramani told NBC New York. We would have just given it to him if he had asked. Ramani and his business partner, E.B. Kali, said they were appalled to learn from the News 4 I-team that the man, identified by the New York Police Department as 27-year-old Jonathan Martinez, had already been rearrested 3 other times before throwing a rock through his store window that Saturday. This is shocking and disturbing, Kali says. It is a bad decision by our leaders. Yeah. Martinez was released from Rikers on March 16 under plans to reduce the jail population for health reasons during the pandemic. According to the Manhattan DA's office, at the time, he was facing a range of charges from petty larceny to forcible touching, stemming from at least 6 separate incidents since November 2019. Martinez were being held for allegedly robbing the Sephora on East 86th Street, with conflicting reports about whether or not he brandished a gun. He also had a violent past. Martinez had already served a 364-day sentence after pleading guilty in 2014 to strangulation involving his girlfriend, according to law enforcement officials. Danny Frost, spokesman for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, says while his office did sign off on some COVID-related early releases, Martinez was not one of them. At the time the court released him for COVID, Frost said, 7 days after his early release, Martinez was arrested for allegedly pulling a box cutter while stealing a cell phone from a passenger in a parked car. NBC New York has obtained video of this incident. Martinez was released on his own recognizance. Later in April, he was arrested and released again after being accused of stealing food and beverages from a gourmet garage. On June 3rd, police say he threw a rock through the window of Lawn, a clothing and jewelry boutique on Greenwich Avenue, where owner Elise Balaguer says she and her husband had struggled to reopen. Images of the scene obtained by NBC News New York shows sharply dressed mannequins covered in shattered glass. Balaguer says repairing the damage was expensive and more than her windows were broken. It was heartbreaking. We were sweeping up glass and crying. Once again, Martinez was arrested and released, but the window display at Lawn remained boarded up as Balaguer tries to remain positive with hopes of reopening with curbside pickup. According to the Manhattan DA's office, prosecutors asked the court to keep Martinez in jail after Martinez's most recent arrest for the alleged rock-throwing burglary at Prime Essentials on June 6, but spokesman Danny Frost said the court denied that request. Lucien Chaufin, spokesman for the New York State court system, said that he could not immediately explain the reasons behind all the decisions to release Martinez, but some of his recent arrests were for charges that under bail reform would not require him to post bail. Prime Essentials owner Ramani asked if they let someone like Martinez out, who if they let someone like Martinez out, who is in jail? The Legal Aid Society responded to NBC New York's inquiries after the story ran, disputing the New York Police Department's claim that Martinez was released on March 16 because of COVID-19. An attorney assigned to represent Martinez said his client was released because prosecutors were unprepared to move forward with his case and the court was obliged to let him go. Okay, well, you know what? That's enough of that. I've had enough of that, and I think that we've got the point. And let's come back to Q. So, Q said hundreds of prisoners released early from Rikers due to COVID concerns are being enabled to reoffend again and again without consequences, law enforcement leaders say. Cause and effect. Do you see what is happening? Yeah, and they're defunding the police. There's less police presence. Not only are they defunding the police, but the police are leaving the police force en masse. I mean, and could you blame them? And so there's less police to deal with more crime, and I'm sure these people are joining in the looting and pillaging and burning and whatever, some of them probably. So yeah, this is it's really obvious what they're doing, but you can see how much they really care about us. This from Lisa Mae Crowley. Prisoner release equals augment Antifa and BLM. Mandatory masks equal excuse to bypass anti-mask laws. Purpose equals keep public afraid to go out in public, and so that they can push the mail-in voting. And that, we know that that's exactly what they're doing. This sickens me. Democrat mayors releasing convicts into society and mandating the public wear masks. Recipe for disaster as criminals can hide their identity while reoffending. Even worse, de Blasio released rapists and molesters into the community. Unbelievable. It is, but then look at his daughter. All right, and we've got this drop 4549, still on the 30th of June. House Democrats to begin impeachment inquiry against AG Bill Barr. Q proof? And then Q says, like clockwork, Q. So this is Chad Pergram. Democrat Tennessee Representative Cohen introduces a resolution to House to begin impeachment inquiry into Barr, has 35 co-sponsors, says Barr obstructs justice by favoring the president's friend and political allies. He abuses his power by using the DOJ to harass, intimidate, and attack disfavored Americans. Yeah, sure he does. They just don't want to face the music that's coming. All right. Lisa Mae Crowley, last week, Pelosi said she had no plans to impeach Barr. 131 days from now, we will have the solution to many problems, one of them being Barr, she said, referring to the November 3rd presidential election. Well, if you can take her away from the bottle enough to say something sensible, I don't know. I've never heard her say anything sensible. I'm not sure if she's capable of it or not. And this by Sun Q2, House Dems introduce a resolution to impeach AG Barr. We knew this was coming. Well, of course. They're trying everything they can. Everything. They're just throwing it all at the wall, seeing what sticks. That's what they're doing. All right. Now we are on drop 4550. I don't know if I'm going to get through these or not. There's, well, I still got a ways to go. I might have to split this into two just to get through Q. My gosh, people. All right. Well, pitter patter, let's get at her. All right, this is drop 4550. People must see the evil in our midst for themselves. It's the only way forward. And I would agree with that. This is anonymous. An Anon posted this. I see what's happening, but I would like to see you guys doing something about it already. We know all of this. We are helpless to it all. So the real question, Q, is, do you see what is happening? And Q responds and says, fear not. We are not helpless. Enough must see. It is the only way. You are being presented with the gift of vision, ability to see clearly what they've hid from you for so long, illumination, their deception, dark actions on full display. People are waking up in mass. People are no longer blind. Do you think it's a coincidence that they banned and prevented you from attending church, house of worship? Anti-American, anti-God. One must only look to see. Have faith in humanity. Have faith in yourself. Let light guide you. Find peace through prayer. Biblical Q. Now, Lisa Mae Crowley says this anon is saying what many of us who have been with Q since October 2017 are saying and feeling. We have to remember that many are newly awakened and many yet to be awakened. Sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You must show them. Only then will people find the will to change. And Sun Q2 says, Anon getting frustrated, not seeing anything happening. Q reassures Anons and tells him not to fear, that we are not helpless. A critical mass must see and recognize the corruption in the Democrats and globalists. The public must wake up. This does not a majority, but a critical mass. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense. The critical mass may be 20% or it may be 30%. It is the only way. We do not want to be going through this in 4 more years in 2024. The public has to wake up and demand change for a generation or more. We as Anons and Patriots see, because we have been looking and waiting for this for years. The globalists know the public is waking up, so they ban church service to prevent the public from gathering with other patriots and Christians who are more likely to discuss the truth and the awakening. Deep state wants to keep their blinders on. That is true, no doubt. And we are now on drop 4551. All I am hearing is helicopters everywhere. It's very odd. You don't often hear helicopters in this area unless it's search and rescue. All right, 4551. Joe Biden, I'm not going to follow the doctor's orders. I will not hold any rallies. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to follow the doctor's orders. I will not hold any rallies. Well, good for him. But the reason he's not holding any rallies has nothing to do with COVID. You and I both know that. Okay, and we have this. We have a link here to follow. Breaking, Joe Biden, I'm going to follow the doc's orders. I will not hold any rallies. Yeah. Sure, that's the reason he wasn't holding rallies. How convenient. Joe Biden told reporters he will hold no campaign rallies. Joe Biden, I'm going to follow the doc's orders. I will not hold any rallies. Joe Biden can't fill a gym. He's hoping the liberal media and tech giants will carry him over the finish line. This is huge. Okay, well, I'm not playing the video because I guess as long as we know that, well, how long is this? Let's see here.
It's my great relief you doesn't have to follow me every day around the country.
Well, last time, Mr. Vice President, a lot of us saw you on the campaign trail. You were still locked in a very difficult nomination battle. The polls, though, today show you with a sizable national lead, a lead in a lot of the states that are critical in the Electoral College. I wonder, where do you think the race stands at this moment? What keeps you up at night as you look ahead? And can you maintain this advantage without campaigning in a traditional way, especially this fall when voters begin to really tune in?
Well, this is the most unusual campaign, I think, in modern history. In that, but I start off with the premise, Mike, that I'm going to follow the doc's orders, not just for me, but for the country. And that means that I am not going to be holding rallies. I am not going to be, for example, you all are here, but thank the school has put those circles around so we keep the social distancing. Everybody has masks on. As soon as I finish this, I'll put my mask back on. So it's almost all been virtual. Although I have gone to Houston, I have gone into Pennsylvania, I have gone to Virginia.
Okay, well, I don't want to listen to him talk, and I'm sure you don't either, but we know that the reason why he's not holding rallies is because he couldn't fill a stadium. He couldn't fill a gym. I don't think he could fill a 7-Eleven. So, yeah, that's the real reason. But, of course, the news isn't going to tell you that, are they? So, let's come back here, and it says, how do you prevent public embarrassment regarding lack of crowd size? How do you continue the con regarding fake polling lead? How do you support mail-in ballot election fraud? Election was not rigged. All polls show Biden had double-digit lead versus POTUS. Example. Yeah, you know that if Biden, for some strange reason, won, that's what they'd say, because, you know, all of Republicans would say that was rigged. I said, no, it wasn't. All the polls showed that he was leading. No, they didn't. Are you kidding? Who benefits the most? Is this about the virus or about the election? And of course, we all know the answer is the election. It's about the election. Now, Lisa May Crowley says mainstream media pushing fake polls plus Biden using virus to justify no public campaigning. Polls are wrong. Many are quietly supporting Trump 2020. They're afraid to do so publicly. Dems believe fake Biden win with fake ballots will be plausible because of fake polls. And Sun Q2 says, of course Joe needs an excuse to avoid an abysmal crowd showing. He also needs an excuse to avoid debating POTUS and being made to look like the fool that he is. This whole situation is a joke. It would be laughable if it wasn't for the fact that these traitors are an existential threat to our republic. I, like so many of you, long for justice to be served swiftly against these traitors. It is difficult waiting for the masses to wake up. So many of us have been doing our part to try and wake them up. We must continue. All right, and pushing ahead, I am trying to get through these, and I don't really particularly want to do another video of Q, but we'll see how far we can get here. 4552, drop 4552, Democrats stop bill that would protect babies who survive abortion and are born alive. Disgusting. Now we have two links here. This is very odd. There's like, all I can hear are helicopters. Very strange. Senate Democrats block Republicans' anti-infanticide bill. Republicans' effort to outlaw infanticide of babies born after botched abortions collapsed Monday after falling victim to a Democrat-led filibuster in what could be Congress's only chance to vote on the hot-button issue this year. The GOP-led Senate only mustered 53 votes, 7 shy of the 60 needed to overcome the Democratic filibuster. 3 Democrats crossed the aisle to back the bill, while 3 Republicans missed the vote. Backers said they were driven to act by recent state laws and bills that they said would allow abortions up to the point of birth, and in at least the case of one failed piece of legislation in Virginia, would have allowed a child born despite an attempted abortion to be left to die. So that's all I'm going to read so that we are aware of what the issue is, and I think we are all aware of that issue. And let's go back, and if I wasn't so short of time, I would read it in its entirety, but we do not have time for that. And let's go to the next link that Q provides, and it is this. And it says, breaking under oath, Planned Parenthood's organ harvesting partner, ABR, states, we do a dissection of babies harvesting organs even while they have beating hearts. I can see hearts that are not in an intact baby that are beating independently. So let's listen to what this lady has to say.
We do that.
How does a tissue procurement occur in one of these situations when the entire fetus is intact in the lab?
We do dissection.
And just to be clear, you do dissection to obtain the tissues that are on the list for the day?
We do dissection to get the tissues that the researchers have requested, yeah.
They are, they have a heartbeat, don't they, at the point they would fall out?
Objection. This witness isn't in the room when that happens. This witness is not a doctor. This witness is not here to testify about the medical or biological conditions of the fetus when it's eliminated from the mother.
And by not alive, do you mean that they were not moving?
Correct.
And do you mean that they did not have a heartbeat?
It would depend.
Okay. And when you say it would depend, what do you mean?
I can see hearts that are not in an intact POC that are beating independently.
Oh, that makes me so sick. They call it a POC, a product of conception. It's a baby. It's a human being. This makes me so sad. It really does. All right. Why would Democrats block a bill that stops infanticide, allows abortion up to the point of birth, and does not provide new restrictions on abortion itself? How is taxpayer-funded Planned Parenthood allowed to donate large sums of taxpayer funds to select members of Democrat Party? Is this about a woman's right to choose or something else? Something else. We know why Democrats blocked the anti-infanticide bill, which would prevent abortions up to the birth of the baby. Planned Parenthood receives hundreds of millions of taxpayer funds under guise of providing women's health to the poor. Planned Parenthood turns around and donates millions to the Democrat Party. PP traffics baby organs and parts and sells them on the black market. PP uses infanticide as a form of baby sacrifice to Moloch and Satan in their satanic rituals. It's hard to stomach, but it's the truth. These people are satanic, and they use aborted babies in the same way the Canaanites did, as sacrifices to Moloch, or Moloch is also known as Baal. All right, so let's move on. We are on to July 1st now, today, and we're getting there. How big tech, Antifa, mainstream media are using aggression, suppression, and censorship to reinforce the Democrat narrative. How do you demonstrate reasonable cause to regulate or break up big tech? What is the common theme, tactic of the left? Define fascism, forcible suppression of opposition. Define censorship, the institution, system, or practice of censoring. Define narrative, a way of presenting or understanding a situation or series of events that reflect and promote a particular point of view or set of values. Define protection, the attribution of one's own ideas, feelings, or attitudes to other people or to objects, especially the externalization of blame, guilt, or responsibility as a defense against anxiety. The form of a plan, scheming. Define psychological projection, a theory in psychology in which the human ego defends itself against unconscious impulses or qualities, both positive and negative, by denying their existence in themselves while attributing them to others. Define narcissist, a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Narcissists who think the world revolves around them. Narcissists preening themselves in front of the mirror. Define dogma, a point of view or tenet put forth as authoritative without adequate grounds. Define aggression, forceful and sometimes overly assertive pursuit of one's aims and interests. Define suppression, the act of suppressing something such as an activity or publication. Bonus round. Narcissists are renowned for using psychological projection to blame other people, even when it is entirely apparent that they are the ones in the wrong. So true. Define realism, the quality or fact of representing a person, thing, or situation accurately or in a way that is true to life. Realism. Actions of Antifa, aggression, progression, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative, dogma, actions of fake news, aggression, progression, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative, dogma, actions of Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Reddit, etc., aggression, progression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative, dogma. MSDNC pushes coordinated, fake, false, misleading disinformation based on the biased Democrat political viewpoint, they are controlled mouthpieces for the Democrat Party. Blue check marks then defend, and a blue check mark is somebody, that is someone in that is well known, and the blue check mark, it proves that they've really them. I don't exactly even know how they get blue check marks, to tell you the truth. I don't care. Anyway, and that's on Twitter. Where am I? MSDNC pushes coordinated, fake, false, misleading disinformation based on the biased Democrat political viewpoint, controlled mouthpieces. Blue check marks then defend and attack the target opposing viewpoint using slander, aggression, suppression, groupthink, etc. Suppression tactics. Non-blue check marks then defend and promote attackers' blues viewpoint, left-wing cult, to instill echo chamber, wall-to-wall, amplified narrative for each designated subject. Select public discovery topics are deemed and ranked in priority order. Ranking determines use of assets, big to small. How to herd the sheep. 101. How to herd the sheep 101. If you do not follow, remain in line with their political viewpoints, you are deliberately made to feel in the minority, isolated, and inferior, using aggression, slander. If the majority thinks X, then X must be true. Projected false reality, minority projected as majority, using news, social media platforms to spotlight designated viewpoints, the narrative. A public person that thinks for themselves, independent, free thought is what they are afraid of. They are afraid of most because that makes them lose control. They don't have control. If they can't control your mind, they can't control you. Now, SunQ2 says, reasonable cause to break up big tech must file antitrust action to show that these social media giants engaged in unfair practices, restrains competition, and results in a monopoly, Sherman Act elements of antitrust violation. Q laying the groundwork to show the basis for such an action. It is extremely difficult to break up large monopolies, but Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, and Google are engaging in unprecedented unfair practices and restraining patriots' free speech in ways we've never seen before. Q emphasizes the importance of words and definitions. The globalists have deconstructed the meaning behind words for years and have disintegrated moral absolutes. It is nearly impossible to debate the left because they are illogical and self-contradictory, and they just scream. Have you seen the videos of people just, you're trying to have a conversation and they're just like, how do you have a conversation with that? You can't. The globalists use psychological narratives to push their message. Obama is the perfect example of a narcissist. Remember the commercial of Obama in looking at himself in the mirror and taking a selfie? Yeah, I remember it. I'm sure you do too. Now, this is also by SunQ2. Antifa has all the qualities described by Q: aggression, suppression, censorship, etc. Antifa is an arm of the Democrat Party. Q explains how the MSDNC pushed their narrative through blue check accounts and then use non-verified accounts to spread the talking points to make it look like Antifa has all the points to make Antifa has. Okay, that doesn't make sense. He's screwed up a little bit. Antifa has all the qualities described by Q: aggression, suppression, censorship, etc. Antifa is an arm of the Democrat Party. Q explains how the MSDNC pushed their narrative through blue check accounts and then used non-verified accounts to spread the talking points to make the lead of the public personality speaking out control. Okay, I didn't quite get what he's trying to say there. I do sort of, but not really. All right, let's go on because I do want to finish, today's post today. And I know it's getting late and this video is going long. Okay, drop 4554. Black Lives Matter is a front to funnel cash donations to Biden promoters and other Democrat service providers. And I've gone through this before in my program, so I'm not going to belabor this because we already know that there is that the money that they are collecting are going straight back out to the Democrats and especially Biden. What percentage of total of Black Lives Matter donations between June 1st and July 1st went to the Biden campaign for president? What percentage of total of Biden's campaign for president donations, money raised, came from Black Lives Matter donations past month? Worth tracking. Why is Black Lives Matter pushed every 4 years? Who pays for Sharpton to fly private? Does Black Lives Matter donated money end up in Sharpton's plus other propped up narrative drivers? Yes. Foundation, National Action Network, and other private accounts? What outside foreign groups donate large sums of money to Black Lives Matter, knowing it is then routed to Biden campaign for president and other friendly Democrat service providers? How do you avoid campaign finance laws? How do you wash clean money? Launder money. How are you saying? How do you launder money? Well, you do it just by that. You're donating to Black Lives Matter. It goes through Act Blue. Who gives it to the Democrats? Is this about improving the quality of life for Black Americans or something else? No, they don't care about Black Americans. They don't care about white Americans. They don't care about Americans or America. And I am quite certain we are all aware of that. It is so strange. I'm hearing like helicopters. It's just odd. I mean, we do have a military base here, and I do hear planes going over all the time, but never helicopters. Not sure what that's all about. Okay, now this is pretty self-explanatory, and this is going to go into it a little bit further. Drop 4555. How does the money flow? How the money flows from Black Lives Matter through Act Blue and directly to Democrat Party interests, including Biden. So this is top vendors, recipients, and this is top recipients or vendors that are receiving money from Act Blue, who is receiving money from Black Lives Matter. Number one is Bernie 2020. He received 186 million, and Biden for president 119 million. Elizabeth Warren, Pete for America, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Amy for America, Friends of Andrew Yang, Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee, Democrat National Committee, Amy McGrath for Senate. So it's going right straight into the Democrat Party. So if you think you're donating to make Black lives better, if you donate to Black Lives Matter, you're not. Not at all. You're making it worse, because the Democrat Party has been the worst thing for blacks ever. All right, start here. Okay, and then click donate. And he's actually going through the act to show us that this is where the money's going. And powering Democratic, okay, who is Act Blue? Powering Democratic candidates, committees, parties, organization, and C4s around the country. Democrat Party funding? Absolutely, that's what it is. All donations to Black Lives Matter are routed through a Democrat-only funding organization. 100% of Black Lives Matter donors are Democrat. 100% of Black Lives donors agree to power Democrat candidates, committees, parties, and organizations with their donations. What percentage of Black Lives Matter donations auto route to Democrat Party affiliated networks? All. And expenditures 2020 cycle includes all contributions outside of Black Lives Matter. What percentage of total Black Lives Matter between June 1st and July 1st went to Biden for president? What percentage of total of Black Lives Matter donations between June 1st, July 1st went to Democrat Party affiliated networks? Independent audits are important. All right, so we go here. And we're getting close, I think, to, we still have more. This is going to be a very long video because I just don't want to split it in two. It just takes extra time, and I can just power through this and get through it. And all right, let's come down here. Oh, where am I here? Okay, so you go to the Black Lives Matter website, and he just kind of leads us through this. Okay, well, why is it not valid? That doesn't make sense. That's odd. And then this one goes to Act Blue. This is Black Lives Matter, fund the movement. We appreciate your support of the movement and our ongoing fight to end state-sanctioned violence, liberate black people, and end white supremacy forever. But is that what they're doing? No, all of this money goes straight into the Democrat Party. And is the Democrat Party doing that? No, they're not. They don't care one bit. So it says donate to fuel our campaign for justice, and your contribution will benefit Black Lives Matter Global Network. So this contribution is made from my own funds or the funds of and it says Act Blue Charities is a registered charitable organization formed to democratize charitable giving. So yeah, and it says Act Blue Charities is a qualified 501c3 tax-exempt organization, and donations are tax deductible to the full extent allowed under the law. But how can they get away with that if that's going straight into a political campaign? I don't know. But anyway, so Q gives us that link, and then he shows us this, the Act Blue. And see, we did this. We went through all this, and I showed you that that's where the money was going. And that's why I'm rushing through this, because we already know this. And that is Act Blue. That is actually where the money goes. And then this is opensecrets.org, PAC's expenditures. Election cycle 2020. The PAC made no expenditures large enough to generate in this list in 2020, but look at this. Top vendors and recipients, and we already looked at this. Note, all numbers on this page are for 2020 election cycle and based on Federal Election Commission data released electronically on June 21st, 2020. So, yeah. That's how much they've spent. So, yeah. All right. So, I think we're already well aware of where the money that is donated to Black Lives Matter is actually going. So that is why I'm kind of rushing through that, because we still have more to get to, and this video is already very, very long and getting longer. Okay, let's see if we're still recording, because that would just make me scream. Yeah, ooh, this is going to be like the longest video ever. It may never end. It may just keep going and going and going. No, it won't. The reason I say that is because I can't keep going and going and going. Okay, this is drop 4556. Democrat echo chamber, MSDNC, narratives, Democrat blue check marks, influencer, Democrat Twitter users, supporters. Worth repeating. MSDNC pushes coordinated, fake, false, misleading disinformation based on a biased Democrat political viewpoint, controlled mouthpieces. Did we already read this? I feel like we have. Okay, he's repeating it, I guess. All right. I'm all right with that if you are. Okay. Blue check marks then defend and attack target opposing viewpoints using slander, aggression, suppression, groupthink, etc. Suppression tactics. Non-blue check marks then defend and promote attackers. Blue's viewpoint, left-wing call to instill echo chamber, wall-to-wall amplified narrative for each designated subject. Select public discovery topics are deemed and ranked in priority order. Ranking determines use of assets, big to small, how to herd the sheep. If you do not follow, remain in line with the political viewpoints that you are deliberately made to feel in the minority, isolated and inferior, using aggression, slander. If majority thinks X, then X must be true, projected false reality. Minority projected as majority using news, social media platforms to spotlight designated viewpoints, the narrative, the acceptable narrative. A public person that thinks for themselves, independent free thought is what they fear the most, loss of Control Q. All right, and we are getting there. 2 more. Okay, now let's look at this. I saw this before I saw Q, and it really perplexed me. And Q just says biblical Q. Well, let's go take a look at this because it's actually quite fascinating. It says not a filter, not edited at all. Check out the halo of light striking New York City just now. Hashtag lightning storm. That is the oddest thing I've ever seen, and I can't explain it. Can you? Have you ever seen anything like this? What is that? There it is again. Not quite as vivid. That is very vivid. And see, there's lightning coming down, but I've never seen light like that. I've never seen it. Let's go back to the first one. Yeah, there's lightning coming down here. I can see just a faint smattering of light there. Now here, no lightning, but the light's still there. And then here, there's another lightning. And there's, the light's not there as much, but there's lightning coming down and striking. I thought that was quite fascinating. I'd love to know what buildings it's actually striking, but I am not familiar enough with New York City to be able to tell. Maybe some of you are, but I think that's quite fascinating, and I'm not quite sure what to think of it or what to make of it. But I've never seen anything like that. I don't know. All right, and this is the last post, believe it or not, and I don't think I'm going to be doing another one tonight because this has been quite something to get through. So anyway, what I'm going to do though is I will probably have to do 2 videos tomorrow. I don't see any way around that because I've got a lot of news that I should have brought you tonight, which I didn't because I knew that you'd want me to cover Q. So I'll bring that to you along with any of the news of the day tomorrow. But let's get to this last post. We are on drop 4558, Patriots Fighting Against Corruption for Canada Day. And it has a link here, We Stand Together, where we go one, we go all. Let's go here. The USMCA, which I will get you a definition in a minute. USMCA, in effect, Patriots Fighting Against Corruption for Canada Day. Wait till the end. Where we go one, we go all. So let me make this bigger.
Come with me.
Hang on here. Take this back here and...
The White House has already gotten this electronically, and they have given us a receipt. So, I'm going to walk to the embassy with anybody that will come with me, and I'm going to deliver this. Okay? Okay. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you. God bless you all.
Of course, and because Canada is officially bilingual, anything that's spoken in English is always repeated in French. So that's what you heard at the end, is somebody repeating what was said in French so that those who spoke French only could understand. So that is quite something. And let's go back here for a minute. The USMCA is the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. It will replace the current NAFTA agreement, and that's actually, when I originally came to the States, that's how I came, under the NAFTA agreement. I I was able to make it more permanent and get my green card. But the United States Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA, will replace the current NAFTA agreement that governs trade in North America. The trade agreement has been negotiated by the governments of the United States, Mexico, and Canada, but still must be ratified by certain groups within these governments. The trade agreement will have a big impact on many parts of the economy. There will be winners and losers. USMCA.com was created to make it easy to search the agreement and comment on different aspects of it. To get started, select a section below. And of course, here it says, right here, when we clicked on this, it said USMCA in effect. So yes, I do believe it has been signed now and ratified, I believe. So that brings us to the end of Q, and boy, he has been busy. He, she, they, them. They've been busy. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to toddle off, and because it's been a very long day. All right, so tomorrow, you know, unless Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to be bringing you 2 videos. All right, and they will be news videos, unless Q posts, and then I don't know what I'll do. Might have to do 3. Okay, well, I'll keep you all caught up, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your support and your encouragement and your prayers. So much appreciated. Thank you guys, and you stay well, stay blessed, stay it's getting late and I forgot. Stay frosty, my friend. I don't know. Okay, good night, guys.